Hello everybody and welcome to NetTouch Plus. I'm your host today, Jeffrey Way, and we're going to be taking a look at actually an older CSS2 property that a lot of people do not use, and it's how we can use CSS to create counters. Let's take a look at an example. Here I have some HTML. I'm using Haml and Tinkerbin to generate it, but if we want to view the source, you can see I have a simple unordered list with numbers. So here we have a bunch of cards. So maybe when you hover over them, you'll see an image or a link. Maybe this is a game. Maybe you have some JavaScript and it's drag and drop so that you can create an ordered sequence. There are lots of issues where this numbering is not ideal. So for example, what if down the line you have 50 of these items and you decide, you know what, I want that last item to be the very first option that we provide. Well then, of course, the problem is your numbering is all screwed up and you would have to manually redo this each time. Now, in situations where the numbering is really just for presentation, you might be able to get away with using CSS to display it by using a counter. This is very popular when doing things like slides or cards or presentations. So let's see how we might go about doing this. In this case, note the number is only there for the purposes of presentation. Whatever you have in these list items, whether it's text or an image, it will still be just fine if you're viewing the markup. We're only using the numbers for presentation. You'll also see this done, for example, within comments, where each comment you'll see a big number saying this is the first comment of the blog posting, this is the second. It's all for presentation, so you could use CSS to display that dynamically. Let's take a look at how we can do it. Within my CSS file, ignore all of this. This is just where we are styling these little boxes right here. Our code, and I'll repeat it here so you don't have to focus on anything above. Right here, we're going to write counter increment, and we're going to give it an ID. In our case, we'll say cards. You can give it any ID you want. Next, rather than hard coding the numbers in here, I want to remove all the numbers. So we just have list items with whatever you would have in your real world project. If I reload the source, there we go. Now, I want to add content, but unfortunately, not yet can we do things like this. If I reload, that's not going to work. It will work in the future, but for now, content property is only going to work with pseudo elements. So if we were to say li after, then we can add content because we're working with a pseudo element. Now in this case, we don't want to write my name, we want to display a counter. And we're going to reference the ID that we applied above, cards. Now if I reload that, check it out. And what's cool about this is, granted we're dealing with empty elements here, but in your project you'll have something different. And if you decide to reorder those, it doesn't matter because we're creating the numbering dynamically with CSS. So what if though you don't want it to be 1, 2, 3, 4, you want it to be maybe 5, 10, 15, 20. You can specify the increment within counter increment as the second parameter. And if I write 5, now it's going to increase by 5 at a time, 5, 10, 15, 20. But what if we get to a situation where we want to reset? So I'm going to copy and create a bunch more. And let's say once we get to 20, we want to start over again for some reason. Maybe you're making a game. All right, well, you can do that by doing counter reset. But still, we're left with the problem of how we can target, for example, when we hit number 20. And we know that we're in increments of 5. So we know number 20 will be the fourth one. So what we could say is every fourth one, we're going to reset the counter. Let's do that. Li, nth child, and we'll say 4n. What this selector is going to do is count every fourth n. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's going to target this element. Then it's going to start again, 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's going to target that element. If you only want to target number 20, you could say 4. But in our case, we're going to target every fourth one. And then I'm going to reset the counter. Now, we don't set anything like true. We need to pass in the ID so it knows which counter is being reset, because you could have more than one on a page. Now, if I reload, you can see we have 5, 10, 15, 5, 10, 15, and let's get rid of the 5 here. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and it resets every time. If you want to do it every fifth one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, truthfully, most of the time I will not use counter reset, but I have had situations where maybe creating comment forms where I will take advantage of doing this counter increment system. And that's going to do it for today's quick tip. It's a simple little technique, but it's an important one to know, and you'll be able to view the demo at this link, which I'll also link to on NetTuts. Stay tuned to NetTuts for more tips, tutorials, and quick tips.